Nelson Mandela, the man who forgave a nation. This is the story of a man who spent 27 years in prison and came out not seeking revenge but reconciliation. This is the story of a boy from a small village who became a symbol of peace, resistance, and the eternal fight for justice. This is the story of Nelson Mandela. Part 1. The Roots of a Giant. Born on July 18, 1918, in the tiny village of Mvezo, nestled in the Eastern Cape of South Africa, Nelson Rolihlahla Mandela came into the world during a time of colonial domination and racial injustice. His given name, Rolihlahla, means pulling the branch of a tree, or more simply, troublemaker. Perhaps it was destiny. Mandela was born into the Tembu royal family, a branch of the Xhosa nation. After his father died when Nelson was just 9 years old, he was taken in by Chief Jongintaba Dalindebo, who groomed him for leadership. From the beginning, Mandela was taught the values of honor, courage, and resistance. He studied at Fort Hare University, the only Western-style university for black South Africans at the time. There, his political awakening began. He challenged the rules, questioned injustice, and making injustice, and eventually was expelled for leading a student protest. Part 2. The birth of the freedom fighter. In 1941, Mandela fled to Johannesburg to escape an arranged marriage. It was there he met Walter Sisulu, and through him connected with the African National Congress, ANC, the movement that would shape his life and legacy. Mandela became a founding member of the ANC Youth League in 1944, determined to confront apartheid with radical new energy. For decades, apartheid had been entrenched in South African society. Laws separated black people from whites in every aspect of life: education, housing, work, marriage, even sidewalks. Mandela and his comrades knew they had to fight it. At first, the resistance was peaceful: marches, petitions, protests. But after the Sharpeville massacre of 1960, when police opened fire on unarmed protesters, killing 69 people, something changed in Mandela. He realized the regime would not give up power without force. Part 3. From activist to outlaw. In 1961, Mandela co-founded Umkhonto weSizwe, the armed wing of the ANC. He began planning acts of sabotage against government targets, not to kill but to shake the system, to awaken the world. In 1962, Mandela was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in prison. But the regime wanted more. At the Rivonia trial in 1964, he and several others were charged with sabotage and conspiracy. In his famous speech from the dock, Mandela declared, "I have cherished the ideal of a democratic and free society in which all persons live together in harmony and with equal opportunities. It is an ideal for which I am prepared to die." He was sentenced to life in prison. Part 4. 27 years behind bars. For the next 18 years, Nelson Mandela was held at the notorious Robben Island, locked in a small cell, forced into hard labor, forbidden from seeing his children, treated as less than human. But in prison, Mandela did not break. He read, he studied, he debated with guards. He taught his fellow inmates leadership, discipline, and patience. The man who entered prison as a young revolutionary began to transform into a statesman. In the 1980s, pressure mounted on the apartheid regime. International sanctions grew. Protests exploded across South Africa. The world began chanting one name: Free Nelson Mandela. Part 5. The Long Walk to Freedom. On February 11th, 1990, after 27 years of captivity, Mandela walked out of Victor Verster prison, tall, composed, and ready to lead. He preached not vengeance, but reconciliation. He negotiated with the same regime that had imprisoned him. He worked with F.W. de Klerk, then president, to dismantle apartheid. In 1993, both men received the Nobel Peace Prize. 1 year later, on April 27, 1994, South Africa held its first multiracial democratic election. Black South Africans, for the first time in history, could vote. Nelson Mandela won by a landslide. He became the first black president of South Africa at the age of 75. Part 6. Leading a nation, healing a people. As president, Mandela's mission was not revenge, but rebuilding. He created the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where victims of apartheid could confront their oppressors, not with weapons, but with testimony. He promoted unity. He kept white civil servants in government. He supported the Springboks, the mostly white national rugby team, a powerful moment of healing, symbolized in the film Invictus. Mandela stepped down after just one term in office. He could have ruled for life. He chose instead to set a standard. Part 7, Legacy of a Legend. Nelson Mandela passed away on December 5th, 2013 at the age of 95. The world mourned. Millions gathered. Leaders from across the globe came to say goodbye. But Mandela's voice lives on in the classrooms of Soweto, in the hearts of activists in Nigeria, Kenya, Senegal, and beyond, in every young African who dares to dream bigger, to lead, to forgive, to fight with wisdom. He spent 27 years in a cell so we could spend a lifetime free. He showed that true power is not in domination, but in dignity. He reminded us that courage is not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. This was Nelson Mandela. This is MH International, where African stories are told with honor, with truth, and with pride.